So to get started, I'm a person that is really proficient in Photoshop and doesn't know After Effects at all, and at the same time doesn't really have the money to purchase both After Effects and Photoshop. So I was trying to think of a way to kind of figure out how I could do some simple motion graphics for my social media stuff in Photoshop. And it's really more of a simplistic, bare bones kind of After Effects spot in Photoshop that I want to show you guys called Timeline. It's really beneficial for the people that don't want to invest all the time learning After Effects and going through and paying the extra money to do all that. So with my social media, I'm going to kind of show you guys what I did. If you go up the window like I just did and go down to Timeline, it's going to pull up something like this. And if you work with video at all in the past, you're going to notice it looks a lot like either After Effects or Premiere or other video cuts software that you know. And it's going to work a pretty similar way from what I found out. I don't know a ton about video, but I have done some editing in the past. First of all, I'll show you what I decided to do. I wanted to put like a little social media thing that just filters through my social medias during my stream. So I'll just play it for you. So see, it kind of filters in, and all the elements kind of come in at different times, and then they all filter out kind of at different times. And you see it on a lot of streamers things. Some a lot more crisp and elaborate than others. This is a very simplistic one. 4 layers for each one. That's it. 4 layers. 2 background colors, the text, and your logo. So it kind of filters through. I did 10 frames for each, and then did a pause between each one. And I'll kind of show you guys how I did it instead of recreating it. So if you go look at this timeline, it's going to recognize anything that's in your layers palette over here to the right. So any layers you have in there at all. So even if you put just a basic like picture in there, it's going to give you time in here. And this is all, and the duration of all these layers are how long are measured in frames. So this is up to 10-second frame, and it's broken down in increments. Just like video editing, you can zoom in and see it closer, 15 frames up to a minute of frames, things like that. And you're going to be able to, what I did was put them all in folders. So to kind of break it down a little easier so you guys can see. Let me move it up here a little bit. So I've got these all in groups, each social media. So let's just look at my Facebook, for example. We've got that broken down into 4 layers. We got the logo, you got the text, and then you got your 2 colors. So, and if you can't seem to see them, it's because you have to have your time over when they're showing. So I've set mine up to where the white background comes in just before, or the color background comes in just before everything else. And then everything else chases onto the screen with it. So the first thing you're want to do is figure out your length of time you want each one. So I put 10-second frames. And then you kind of want to get an idea of how you want to bring it all in. So I wanted to bring in the color bar, background bar first, have the white one chase it in, the text chase it in, and the logo chase it in. So the first thing you're going to do is go through each one of those layers, right click on them, and convert them to a smart object, which I've already done here. And the reason being, that'll give you below each logo or each layer, it'll give you some different steps you can do here. Transform, opacity, and style. So the one we want is transform. And basically this is going to be adding the motion to the entire thing. So for each layer, you gotta have your layer selected. We're gonna go down to that one real quick. And I'll be honest, I just learned a lot of this last night, playing with it a lot and watching some videos myself. So if this video doesn't tell you everything about the timeline that you want to know, there's more out there. I'm trying to show just how to put some stuff into motion. So with this background color, you'll basically just click on this center button here and you'll turn it yellow. And wherever you have your time marker, it's going to put a marker on that layer that's selected. And from there, you'll take that layer that you have. If you start designing with it on screen, you'll take that at that timestamp and move it off screen so that it starts off screen. Then you'll pick your final destination point, say right here. Let's turn off those other layers so you guys can see a little bit better. That's where we want our final destination to be. And the way this works is once you've selected your starting point for your transform, it automatically puts the next one in there for you. If it doesn't, you can always hit that center button again. And that'll be your endpoint. So we have our travel point of 15 frames right here. Then it'll travel the rest of the time through here. And now we need to pick our point where it's going to move back. So we'll pick our transfer point again. And that's where it's at its final destination. And we'll take 15 frames again. And we'll pick the end. And we'll move the graphic off completely and hit transform. That'll be our end marker. Boom. And now you have an on frame and an off frame. Now there's plenty of different ways you can do this. There's no wrong way. It's your own, style that you want to do. You can do it that way. So the next one we want to do is the same thing with the white one. So I wanted that one to be delayed a little bit. So what I did was I took the layer, and if you hover over the end, you'll see these bars with arrows, and you can drag that out whatever length you want. So it was up against the full length on the left, along with everything else. I delayed it a little bit by dragging it in. Went through and did the same thing with the transform, and had it start off screen again. Hit transform. Found its endpoint, which was just a little bit short of the colored background, which was planned because I wanted that little color of bar showing at the end. And then I picked my endpoint, hit transform again, and now it chased on there. Now I could speed this up so that it catches up to it quicker. I could draw it out more so that it goes in slower. It's really all up to me where I want to put my timestamp. And then again, you'll go to the end, repeat the process. So in reverse, this one was behind on the blue background. Now I want it to leave before the blue background. So I'll pick just before the blue background, hit my timestamp, and that's when it's going to start going into motion because I'm going to pick my endpoint, and that's when I want it off. So it's actually going to beat the blue off and it was catching up to the blue. So now you got your two background layers. You want some text. You wanted some kind of cohesive message with this. We're going to have this come in at the same time as our white background and our logo. So we'll again move the whole timestamp to the same as the white background. We'll do our timestamps. And we're going to have it start coming in at the same time. But because it's shorter, it's going to come in slower. It's going to come in a lot slower. And I'll zoom in a little bit so you guys can see this better because it's really small. So you can see it's kind of chasing it in there. And then it actually ends after our white background. Booyah. It'll kick into place. And if the graphics look off and it looks a little fuzzy and everything, that's okay. A lot of the times timeline will default 50% resolution. So you're not going to see the full frame of that. You're not going to see it full render. You can see that at the end when you render it out. Okay, so from there, we did our timestamps again, found our endpoint, hit the timestamp again over here, and then we go and just do the reverse again, and we chase it off. And we make sure it's off a little bit for our white background, just for the motion idea that we want with it. Last but not least, we'll add our logo in. It's going to come in at the same time as well. Because it has to travel less distance, it's going to look like it's coming in slower. And it's still going to stop at the same point as our text. So it'll finish at the same time, but because it has less ground to travel, it's going to go really slow. So you get like a little bit of different motion. And it might look a little harsh, the speed, the graphics, like I said. Once it renders out, it'll look a lot smoother. Boom. Bam. So then you take your exit point, and because it has to travel less distance, it's going to take it longer to chase off. So I wanted to kind of have the blue background chase everything off. So that's our Facebook logo. I went ahead and did, I'll kind of show you guys what I did. Okay. So as you guys can see, I did a lot of different ones. I did Facebook. And what I did was I did each one for 10-second frames. And then I built in a gap to where it would completely wipe off for 2 seconds before the next one came on, so that it wasn't such a harsh transition immediately coming on. So that one will go on for 10 seconds. It'll do its wipe off. A little bit of a pause. The next one comes in YouTube. And last but not least, that one will go off. We'll have a little bit of a pause. And the last one will come in, which is a new one that I want to talk about too. This is the American Red Cross being a blood donor. I just want to let people know. Maybe it'll encourage them to donate blood as well. And then at the very end, the most important part, because we're going to have this looping, we built in a blank layer for, look like 4 seconds before the whole thing cycles over again. And I'll show you what I mean with that. So once you have everything the way you want it, you could hit render down here in the corner, and it's going to bring up a menu. You're going to have a lot of different options. There's the encoder where you can do MP4. You can do a Photoshop sequence of PNGs. But because I want to do transparent and I want to have this overlaid over other stuff, I'm actually going to hit this 3 dots down here. And it's going to change it into images for an animation. So it breaks each frame down into a picture. And it's going to stack all those together. From there, we'll go to export. We'll go down to save for web. And it's going to make it default a GIF. And the most important thing you want to see here is transparent right here, checkmarked. Which means it's going to make everything behind it transparent. And this might take a while to load because that's the whole render previewing in. You'll hit save. I'm not going to go ahead and hit save because I already did this. But it'll render it out as a GIF. Stream elements. I go out to my stream elements. And because it's a GIF, it can be added as an image, which is great because that cuts down on CPU usage. I highly encourage using stream elements because it helps cut down on CPU usage. You'll go and just add an image. You'll basically just go change your image. You'll upload your image. You'll select that GIF. Pick it. It'll show up on my images right here. You'll hit submit. And the only thing you'll want to do is go into position size and make sure it's 1920 by 1080. And that will fill your whole screen that you're streaming within. But yeah, it's a really simple way, guys, to learn something that most people would have to learn After Effects to do. Again, After Effects is going to be able to do way more. But if you're just looking for some simple things, I still have some other ideas I want to do. Maybe for all my alerts, I can do some different things with it. Simple graphics stuff. And it's great for overlays for VODs and stuff. Telling people to visit your YouTube page and things like that. So hopefully you guys enjoy that little bit there and can take something away from it and maybe try it yourselves before either needing someone else to do it for you or having to learn a whole new program. Photoshop's really well known, and a lot of people know the bare bones of Photoshop, and it's not much more to really figure out if you know the bare bones of Photoshop. So hopefully that helps you out a little bit, guys, and there's gonna be more of those. I'm gonna show more of those for sure because my own stream is capitalizing from them, and I feel like it's saving me money by doing that, and time, especially when I don't have much time. So